With Bitcoin pushing all-time highs, the question everyone's asking now isn't if Bitcoin will be part of your retirement plan, it's how much you need to actually retire on it. In this episode, we'll use a real-time tool, the Bitcoin retirement calculator, to show you exactly how many sats or whole coins you'll need depending on your lifestyle, age, and time horizon. Let's jump into it. So, most retirement plans are built around a number. Let's say you want $1 million to retire comfortably. At today's Bitcoin price of $117,130 as of the 15th of July 2025, and Google Sheets gives you a really handy tool to pull the live Bitcoin price, which is on screen. So if anyone wants to copy that and sort of replicate this work for their own benefit, please feel free. And then you simply input $1 million, do a division, and it shows that we need about 8.54 Bitcoin to reach that retirement figure. But what if Bitcoin hits 250,000? Well, it's a simple calculation, but just for demonstration purposes, we would need 4 Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin hits $1 million, then you'd only need 1 Bitcoin. But the key point and key takeaway there is that as the Bitcoin price appreciates, the number of Bitcoin you're going to need vastly decreases over time. This website, bitcoinretirementcalculator.com, allows you to take into account your age, your expected retirement age, your life expectancy, annual inflation, and your DCA strategy into Bitcoin to allow you to project forwards and really see if you're able to retire or when you're able to retire off living on a Bitcoin standard. So let's do some calculations. So say you are 30 years old and you've just started your Bitcoin journey, so you don't currently have any Bitcoin in your stack. Your ideal monthly expenses during your retirement, I put $10,000. Some may say that's excessive, some may say that's not enough, but just as a middle ballpark figure, we're going to keep it as 10,000 for now. And say you started a DCA strategy into Bitcoin of $200 a month, which is pretty feasible for a lot of people. I am distinctly aware of the cost of living crisis, so $200 may be unfeasible for a lot of people. Now onto the assumptions. So we'll keep the retirement age as 65. I am aware that that's probably going to go up significantly over our lifetimes, especially if you're millennial like me. Life expectancy, we will bring that down. I don't want to be morbid, but just to make a more conservative approach to the model. And then annual inflation, I've put 7%. The governments are obviously telling us it's 2%, or that is their target. We all know that when you go to the shops, you come to renew your insurance, it's not usually 7%, it's significantly more. So therefore, I'm going to go conservative once again and put 10% on the inflation rate. So this shows that with this model, using the power law equation, which is what it fundamentally relies on, and we'll get into that in a second. I've also done a video on the power law, so please check that out, which will explain the mechanics behind it. But just for today's video, the portfolio balance at your retirement age of 65 is $5,724,077, which is enough to retire. Now, that seems like a lot and excessive, which is great. However, when you take into account that inflation rate, the model starts to really show you the power of compounding, but also it shows you how expensive things get in the future. But what if we didn't want to use the Bitcoin power law as the fundamental appreciation rate for Bitcoin going forwards? What if we want to just put a conservative, constant CAGR rate to project our required Bitcoin for a specific retirement age? And this calculator allows you to do that in a bit better detail. So we'll input our same characteristics of our previous model. So at the current age, 30, life expectancy 85, current Bitcoin stack 0, annual Bitcoin purchase. So we said $200 a month on our previous example. So let's go for $2,400 a year, which would equate to the same. With goal retirement age, let's say 65 as the previous model, and desired retirement spend. So this is annual. So we said $10,000 a month at retirement, so that would be $120,000 a year. Now here we can put an adjustable appreciation rate of Bitcoin. Let's go for 20%. Now historically, Bitcoin's CAGR has been anywhere between 55 to 150%. It's averaging about 50 to 60%, but let's keep it conservative and go 20%, which If you look at some of my previous videos, I speak specifically about the CAGR rates of Bitcoin, so again, go and check those out. Scrolling down, the Bitcoin retirement projections from this model give us that the target Bitcoin needed to meet our income goals of $10,000 per month is 0.04 Bitcoin. Annual BTC needed is 0.001 Bitcoin. So we need to generate enough income to invest into Bitcoin to get 0.001 Bitcoin a year. The projected price at our retirement age at 65 is 51 million. So at 30 years old, the retirement age of 65, so that's in 35 years time. And at that 35 years of time, at age 65, we'll have 0.047 Bitcoin. Question of how much Bitcoin is needed to retire. Well, it's clear that it's dependent on the age at which you start stacking Bitcoin. So what happens if we change our retirement age and really bring it in? So if we want to retire at 50, so we've got a large proportion, we're at 50 years old, we've got great health still. If you take care of yourself, if you look for a low time preference and you take care of your body, Bitcoin as a mentality really teaches you that, to think of the long term, to delay gratification, to invest in yourself and also invest in your future. So let's take this down to 50, and what does that do to the effect? Well, obviously the target Bitcoin you're going to need is going to go up, and you're going to need to invest more per year. You're going to need to accumulate more Bitcoin per year in order to get your projected or required Bitcoin to meet your retirement expenses. And we can do this dynamically. So again, if you wanted to retire at say 45, you need 3 Bitcoin. If you wanted to retire at age 41, which is 10 years from your starting stack at age 30, you'd need to hit 8 Bitcoin, which means you'd need to be stacking 0.81 Bitcoin a year, and that's best part of $100,000, $116,000 at today's current price. And for the final example, I'd like to just change the current ages. So see what Bitcoin you'd need for the same situation, but you start stacking Bitcoin at different periods of your life. So we already agreed that at age 30, this model said you need 0.0468 Bitcoin to reach your $10,000 a month required expense at age 65. But what happens if you start at age 40? What does that do? Well, you'd need 0.267 Bitcoin. 50, you'd need 1.52 Bitcoin, and 60, obviously you'd only have 5 years of stacking before you wanted to retire. You'd need to hit 8.659 and obviously invest or manage to accumulate 1.73 Bitcoin a year for those 5 years, which would be very difficult given the Bitcoin price at retirement age being $277,161. And so to summarize, guys, your age really does determine how aggressive your Bitcoin retirement strategy can be. In your 20s and your 30s, you've got time is on your side. 0.5 to 1.5 Bitcoin could be enough as long as Bitcoin continues to trend upwards at the appreciation rates we work through, as well as the appreciation rates we've seen over the past 16 years since its inception. If you're in your 40s to 50s, aim for 2 to 5 Bitcoin depending on your expected lifestyle and your expenses. 50 to 60s and close to retirement, you might need 6 to 10 Bitcoin as we've shown with this example. And it really, again, depends on your location and your expenses. So, for example, if you're planning to retire in London or New York, your expenses are going to be much, much higher than, for example, Thailand or Bali. But always remember, what if Bitcoin doesn't do what we expect it to do and doesn't reach the heights? Or what if it dips hard in the year you plan to retire? Always account for volatility. The upward trends are always met with downward swings. Bitcoin can 5x, but it can also crash to 80%. It can go through crypto winters. So make sure you plan with appropriate buffers. Build a cash position so that you're able to take advantage of those dips when they come. Use Bitcoin for long-term gains, not short-term withdrawals or short-term trading. Highly advise against trading this asset. This is a store of value. It is the greatest store of value that has ever been created. You will own a proportion of a finite asset that is incorruptible. It is proven mathematically via cryptography. and it is forever. So that's where we're going to leave it for today, guys. How much Bitcoin do you need to retire? Well, with prices today reaching all-time highs, a small stack will go a long way. Use tools like the Bitcoin Retirement Calculator to calculate your model, put your inputs in there, what you would like to achieve from your financial portfolio, and stay grounded. Your goal might be 10 Bitcoin, 5 Bitcoin, 1 Bitcoin, or 0.1 Bitcoin, but either way, you are buying time, not just an asset. If you like this video, guys, hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment. How much Bitcoin do you think you need to retire? What are your stacking goals, and when do you think you'll get there? I'd love to know. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.